For about 6 months, I followed every piece of sales advice I could find. The frameworks, the closing techniques, the scripts, the proven systems, I consumed all of it because I desperately wanted to figure out why selling felt so hard for me. And the whole time, every single technique I tried, something just felt off. I kept telling myself I just needed to practice more, get more comfortable, push through the resistance. But here's the truth I finally had to face. It wasn't resistance that was wrong. The advice just wasn't built for me. And today I'm going to tell you exactly what I stopped doing and what I do instead, because I think a lot of you are probably in the same place I was. Hey, welcome back. I'm Tiffany Fulcher, founder of Convert Her, the sales membership built specifically for women entrepreneurs who are ready to stop winging it and start selling with a real system. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Now let's get into it. Here's what I figured out after 6 months of trying advice that made me feel like a completely different person. Almost everything in the sales education space was built by men, tested by men, and designed for men selling to men. And that's not a criticism, it's just a fact. And it matters because women don't sell the same way that men do. We don't build trust the way men build trust, and we don't make decisions the way men make decisions. And the women buying from us, well, they don't respond the way men respond. So when we try to apply those tactics, we don't just feel uncomfortable, we feel like frauds. We feel like we're performing a version of ourselves that isn't real. And the buyers, they feel that too. The moment you stop being genuine in a sales conversation, the trust is gone. And for women, that trust is everything. Most women end up in one of two places. We try the tactics anyway and feel terrible about ourselves, which is what I experienced, or we avoid selling altogether because it doesn't feel like us. Now, neither one of those pays the bills, but there is a third option, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. So let me walk you through exactly what I stopped doing and what I replaced it with, starting with the one that messed with me the most. Now, the one that messed with me the most was the idea that every interaction should be moving towards a close. Every conversation, every DM, every piece of content, all of it pointing towards getting the sale. I know you've heard it, always be selling. And when I tried to live by that, every conversation I had felt like a transaction. I could feel myself steering things, angling, waiting for the moment to make my move. And it just made me feel like a used car salesman in the worst possible way. Here's what I know now though. Women don't close, women connect. And when the connection is deep enough and the trust is real enough, the close happens naturally. And it's not something you push, it's something you earn. Here's what I do instead. Always be connecting. When connection is the goal, the close is just the natural result of that. Everything changes for you and for her. Every technique I learned for handling objections was about overcoming resistance, reframing it, countering it, keep pushing until she says yes. And I tried. And every single time, it felt like I was trying to convince someone to do something that they didn't want to do. And I kept asking myself, do I actually want to work with a client that I had to push this hard to get? And the answer was no. And that's when I realized the problem wasn't the technique, it was the philosophy underneath it. Because objections are not resistance, they're information. When she says I need to think about it, she's not saying no, she's telling me exactly which belief she hasn't formed yet. And when I stopped trying to push through objections and started trying to understand them, my conversion rates went up and my stress went down. Because now I'm helping her make a decision instead of trying to make it for her. Another thing I was told was to fake it until you make it, or project confidence and act like you already made the sale. And for about 30 seconds, that would actually work. And then someone would push back on my price or ask a really hard question, and everything would unravel in those moments. Because underneath the performance was the same old story that I kept telling myself, which is I'm not really a salesperson. I'm not sure I'm worth this price, or I hope she can't tell that I'm nervous. Performing confidence doesn't shift anything underneath. It just puts a mask over what was already there. And the moment selling gets a little bit uncomfortable, that mask comes off. So real confidence in sales doesn't come before the sale. It actually comes after you've built a structure and followed it enough times to trust yourself. Structure creates that confidence, and performance, well, that just delays the moment of truth. I heard a lot, send more messages, make more offers, more volume equals more sales. That was the advice that I was given, and I tried that too. And some sales happen, don't get me wrong, but the energy behind all of it was completely depleting. And the clients who came in that way, the ones I basically wore them down, were consistently the hardest to serve and always the first to leave. Women don't buy from the person who reached out to them the most. They buy from the person they trust the most. And the trust isn't built through volume. It's built through depth, consistency, and genuine care. Really, one real relationship is worth more than 100 cold pitches every single time. So that's what I stopped doing. Now let me show you what I do instead. When it comes to follow-up is still where the money is. That part is true, regardless of who teaches it. But how you do it changes everything. A warm follow-up feels like staying visible, adding value, giving her one more reason to say yes without pressure, without urgency tactics, without making her feel chased. It's following up like someone who genuinely cares about whether or not she gets the result and not someone who needs the sale. When you follow up from that place, she doesn't feel hunted. She feels remembered. And that's a completely different experience that leads to a completely different outcome. Consistency is the one principle that transcends every sales methodology. The women who make consistent income are not always the most talented or the most confident. They are the ones who show up every single week without exception. Not in bursts when they need cash, not hard for a week and then disappearing for 3, every week. Because consistency builds the thing that actually converts trust, and your buyers need to see you consistently before she'll invest. Now, this is the one that I resisted the longest because numbers felt clinical and cold and like the opposite of the relationship-based business that I wanted to build. But your numbers, they tell you a story that your feelings can't. How many conversations are you starting? How many converting to sales calls? What's your close rate? Where are your leads dropping off? Without that data, you're making decisions based on how you feel on any given Tuesday. Knowing your numbers doesn't make your business less human, it makes your decisions more intentional, and intentional decisions create consistent results. So after 6 months of trying what didn't work, I stopped and I started building something that was designed specifically for the way women naturally sell. Not aggressive, not performative, not about wearing someone down until they said yes, but built on connection, built on belief building, built on the understanding that women buy differently than men. And that difference is actually a superpower when you stop fighting it and start working with it. That's the foundation of everything inside Convert Her, a system that works the way you work, that turns selling from something you dread into something you consistently do every single week because it actually feels like you. And I want to say something that I needed to hear for a long time before someone finally said it to me. You were never bad at sales. You were following advice that wasn't built for you. And there's a massive difference between those two things. One is a character flaw. The other is a mismatch between the tool and the person using it. And when you find the right tool, the one that fits how you think, how you connect, how you build, selling stops feeling like a performance and starts feeling like a conversation that you're really good at. You don't have to become someone else to make sales. You just have to find the system that works the way you work. And everything you tried before that, it wasn't a failure. It was research. It was you getting closer to the thing that actually fits. If this video resonated with you, and if you've been trying to sell in a way that doesn't feel like you and you're ready to find the approach that actually fits, I have a free training called The Real Reason You're Not Making Sales. It's where I start with every woman I work with and we get clear on exactly why your current approach isn't converting, and then we build the thing that will. It's free. The link is in the description. Go and register now and I'll see you there.